Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Are the Warriors too attached to Brandon Podziemski? The Golden State Warriors entered the NBA offseason with dueling plans: swing for the fences in a trade, and retain their young, homegrown talent. Those goals don't always have to be at odds with each other, but the Dubs somewhat lack the other two assets craved by NBA teams: good future draft picks, and high-caliber veterans. The Warriors didn't have their own first-round pick in June's draft, though they can trade a few in upcoming seasons. And among their veterans, Kevin Looney has limited trade value and Andrew Wiggins quite likely has negative value. So if the Warriors want to make a big trade, which they openly want to do, they'd likely have to part with some of their exciting young talent, which they openly don't want to do. It's how we end up with impasses such as the current one, where the Warriors seem to have lost steam in their attempts to trade for Utah Jazz All-Star Lauri Markkanen, because of Utah's desire to get Brandon Podziemski included in the deal. Which brings up a natural question: do the Dubs value Podziemski too much? Golden State values Podziemski more than the rest of the NBA does. As The Athletic's Anthony Slater recently wrote, his internal value appears to supersede the external reputation, but that shouldn't be surprising. Teams usually value their own players more, with the exception of a few players who are valued less by their teams, because they see what's happening behind closed doors, and they already know how well that player can function in their particular schemes. In short, Podziemski is a good player and the Warriors have more data on him than other teams do, so they'll value him more highly. But it is worth noting that Podziemski's reputation isn't just driven by the Dubs and a stubborn Jazz front office. The rest of the league seems to really like him, too, as evidenced by this observation from the Mercury News' Danny Immerman, in response to Joe Lacob's claim that the Warriors believe Podziemski is a future All-Star. Context is always key when evaluating how much a team values a player. The Warriors and Jazz having a deal hung up on Podziemski doesn't mean Golden State thinks their young guard is better than a proven All-Star forward. It means they think their young guard with his contract status included, plus the other draft picks and players they'd need to part with, is more valuable than Markkanen, especially when his contract status is included. The 27-year-old Markkanen is a rental who is owed just over $18 million for the coming season, and then will enter unrestricted free agency. Given that they'd be acquiring his bird rights and would have an exclusive negotiating period, it's safe to assume the Warriors would re-sign the 2022-23 All-Star, but it's even safer to assume that it will cost them deep into nine-figure territory. Podziemski, on the other hand, still has 3 years left on his rookie deal at just under $13 million combined, at which point he would enter restricted free agency, guaranteeing that Golden State could keep him around. Warriors Buddy Hield gets 100% real about Stephen Curry tandem nickname. Losing a franchise icon in free agency is never easy for a fan base or the members of the organization. This offseason, this was exactly what the Golden State Warriors had to go through after they let Klay Thompson walk to the Dallas Mavericks via sign-and trade. But life goes on, even after breakups. The Dubs rebounded quickly, securing one of the all-time great shooters in Buddy Hield to approximate Thompson's floor-spacing impact as one half of the legendary Splash Brothers duo with Stephen Curry. While nothing will ever replace the Splash Brothers in the hearts of Warriors fans, Hield should be a fan favorite from the get-go given how audacious he tends to get with his three-point shot selection, and he has the accuracy from beyond the arc to match that level of confidence. In fact, fans have already dubbed the Hield and Curry backcourt as the newly formed Splash Buddies, a wonderful moniker. Nonetheless, while Buddy Hield appreciates the love from the fans, he is focusing on getting to work and earning that tandem nickname, especially when he has large shoes to fill in the aftermath of Klay Thompson's departure. I don't see nothing wrong with it, but we just gotta take it day by day. Let it come, Hield said with a huge smile on his face in an interview with 95.7 The Game. How does Buddy Hield feel about him and Steph being called the Splash Buddies? I don't see nothing wrong with it, but we just gotta take it day by day. At the moment, there remains plenty of uncertainty surrounding the Warriors, basketball-wise. After a disappointing 2023-24 season in which they missed the playoffs, fans are starting to come to terms with the realization that their team may not recapture the heights they reached during the peak of their dynastic run. Buddy Hield, however, has a chance to etch his name in Warriors lore by doing his part in staving off this fall from grace. And perhaps by then, he'll feel as though he has earned the Splash Buddies nickname alongside Stephen Curry. When Stephen Curry began to capture everyone's hearts by storm in his breakout 2012-13 season, he was an offensive marvel whose range stretched to game-breaking distances. His confidence seeped through every action of his on the hardwood, and he backed it up with as much skill as anyone has displayed in NBA history. Buddy Hield may not have the same impact. He is not very good as a finisher, a dribbler, and he is somehow a worse defender than Curry is. But what Hield guarantees is a barrage of three-pointers and some jaw-dropping heat-check moments. He made 2 or more triples in 60 of the 84 games he suited up in last season, and despite coming off the bench in half of those games, he still finished with 219 triples on the season, an elite number especially for someone whose role was in flux. Hield has made 200 or more triples for every season since the 2018-19 campaign, peaking with 288 during the 2022-23 season when he was still a full-time starter for the Indiana Pacers. As far as catch-and-shoot, movement shooters go, it's difficult for the Warriors to get someone better suited to replace Klay Thompson than Hield. He will, indeed, make it rain for the Warriors, and those low-post split actions involving screening actions between Stephen Curry and Hield will be very difficult to contain. Hield should get a new lease in life as well, with his popularity set to soar while playing in front of one of the most passionate fanbases in the NBA today. Warriors, Jazz continue discussing Lauri Markkanen trade. The Golden State Warriors are still looking to make a big addition this late in the offseason, and they've targeted a big name who could help in the short and long term. They're still discussing a trade to acquire Lauri Markkanen from the Utah Jazz, according to The Athletic's Shams Charania. Markkanen will be eligible for a contract extension beginning on August 6, but is currently set to be one of the most coveted free agents available next offseason. The 27-year-old averaged 23.2 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 2.0 assists in 33.1 minutes per game last season. He shot 48% from the field and 39.9% from three-point range. In 2023 he was an All-Star and was named the NBA's Most Improved Player. The Jazz appear willing to move Markkanen in the right deal and have been in talks with the Warriors for a while. Utah's asking price has been substantial, attempting to pry Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski and draft picks in return for the multi-talented 7-footer. According to Charania, the Warriors have balked at that price tag. He wrote, "The Golden State Warriors have been the most engaged team for Markkanen in recent weeks. As league sources tell The Athletic, they have discussed a proposal around Moses Moody, multiple first-round picks, multiple pick swaps and multiple second-round picks. That likely won't get it done, as the Jazz are likely to insist on at least one other young player being included. Markkanen would be a huge boost to Golden State's lineup. With Draymond Green slowing down, he'd be a new piece to build around in the frontcourt for the future. Along with Tracy Jackson-Davis, he'd represent a new formula up front for the Warriors. Golden State has already added Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Kyle Anderson to the roster after losing Klay Thompson in free agency and releasing Chris Paul. Adding Markkanen would be a big move to help reassert the team as a contender in the Western Conference. But the cost will hurt. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Lauri Markkanen? Leave your opinion in the comments.